Now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, a weekend night turned scary fast.
There's no way that's a real gun.
My reaction was a panic attack and crying.
The next steps in the investigation after Denver police shoot a man with a gun and up to 5 other people in a crowd.
Also, we'll break down what new body cam video shows about officers' failed response in Uvalde, Texas. And we have our first hint this morning about a possible motive.
And eastbound I-70 is back open this morning. We're looking ahead at what the next steps are for the Central 70 project.
Yeah, the best part is yet to come over the top of the tunnel. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Jessica Crawford. Gonna be another hot day across the state. Lisa, maybe even dangerously so.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's why National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory. It's going to be a Denver 7 weather action day just to prepare you for what's going to be a little inconvenient this afternoon and hot. Most of the counties here across the metro area in orange, and that covers most of northeastern Colorado. That heat advisory from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. tonight. And you can see why. Our hourly planner, we're already well into the 80s. In fact, close to our normal high for the day by about 10:30, near 90 at that point. And then we'll hit a high, a good 10, 12 degrees above that, near 100 in Denver today. That's just the start of the heat. You get a little farther east and you're going to find anywhere from 103 to about 105 near Greeley, Akron, down toward Lamar and Pueblo, 70s and more 80s for the mountains. Now we'll get a few isolated storms popping up today. Cross your fingers for a cloud or two to roll through your neighborhood, because otherwise it is going to be just sunshine and heat. I'll show you how long it's going to stay hot this week coming up.
Speaking of hot, if you're over near 55th and Lamar, there is a little building fire over there, so you might have seen some smoke over in the Arvada area. Right now you can see 225 downtown Denver. This is over on I-76, heavy stop and go, and still slow and go, slower than average on I-25, as you can see from the map up that way. Had a crash right after 84th, way over to the side now, so all lanes are open. Still looking at about a half an hour getting all the way down through downtown Denver, and still pretty busy on I-76 as well as 270. But the rest of the commute, typical stuff on 225, a little slow there down from Parker Road, a little slow going up towards Mississippi, but that Santa Fe corridor and C-470 looks just fine. I-70, as you take a look at it from the camera right now, so this is the westbound side. This is where traffic used to flow on that eastbound side, and now it's over here under the new tunnel. The express lane is right here. That's why you still see the cones set up. The express lane is not quite open just yet. So what is next with this I-70 project now that the new tunnel is open? Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is out there at the entrance of the new tunnel. Veronica, there's still some important work to get done before they can call this project done.
Still some work before this is all wrapped up here on Central I-70, but you see it here behind me, those two tunnels now open, eastbound and westbound, and you also see those cones that Jason just mentioned on the expressway there as well. So the project not all said and done quite yet. Two major things do still have to happen. Workers need to finish the park and playground that's going to be on top of the tunnels, and then they need to work on changing the westbound tunnel from a two-way traffic to one-way. And workers, they do need to do some restriping in the westbound tunnel to create those permanent wider lanes, the express lane, the wider shoulder, but before that, they do have to change the barrier walls too.
When you look at this concrete barrier, you look at some of the flares on the barrier, that is designed for an eastbound traffic shift or an eastbound traffic movement. In that tunnel, ultimately it needs to be designed for a westbound traffic movement. We are going to have to demolish some of the barrier and re-pour that barrier. It's a lot of work. There are a lot of systems and things that need to be modified in order to switch to the final configuration.
And you heard it there, still some work needs to be done. Westbound I-70, that won't enter its final stage until sometime in September. And coming up in the next half hour, we're going to run you through some of the changes and the work that's being done on top of the tunnels. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, it was a chaotic scene at closing time for a Lodo bar over the weekend. Denver police opened fire just outside the bar after officers said they saw a man with a gun. Well, now 5 innocent people are recovering after being hit. Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live from the scene there at 20th and Larimer. And Christian, this case is now going to the Office of the Independent Monitor.
Yeah, Brian, and that office was created by the mayor and city council back in 2004 to look into cases like this shooting where 5 innocent people were hit. It is responsible for monitoring any complaints against DPD, officer-involved shootings, in custody deaths involving police as well, and they'll recommend any disciplinary action. And in a video that was sent to us by a witness, you can see that chaos that erupted after those shots broke out here in Lodo early Sunday morning. You can see what appears to be an innocent bystander shot in the thigh. Another part of the video shows a man being handcuffed by police on the ground. Denver police officers were responding to a fight that broke out involving the suspect Jordan Waddy. Officers say they followed Waddy, and at some point he pointed a gun in their direction, and that is when they fired. Waddy was hit, but he is expected to survive. The 5 innocent bystanders caught in the middle of all of it were also injured, but they are expected to be okay. Denver police say at this time it appears the suspect did not fire his weapon, and we talked to witnesses who said that this all happened while there were crowds of people all around.
As soon as the cop in the front pulled out his gun, he just started shooting. Like there was no time, no pause to process. Like as soon as he pulled it out, he just started shooting, and we heard 4 shots, and there was like a crowd of people in front of us, and there were still people coming out of the bar itself.
The suspect is in custody and could face criminal charges. Meanwhile, the 3 officers who fired their guns, they're on administrative leave. Live in Denver this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Thank you, Christian. A new report shows nearly 400 police officers arrived at the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, but did not follow their training and were learning of the shooter's possible motive for the first time. ABC's M. Nguyen has more.
New body cam video showing officers initially responding to calls of shots fired at Robb Elementary School. The camera, worn by police officer Eduardo Canales, shows him and others arriving minutes after the gunman got inside the adjoining classrooms, where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. They draw back after taking gunfire from the suspect. Canales, injured by shrapnel, tells the others to go in.
We gotta get in there, he just keeps shooting.
But surveillance footage shows law enforcement did not enter for more than an hour. The video, released by the mayor of Uvalde the same day a scathing new report was published, which found officers took a lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making and no clear leadership among the 376 officers who responded.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The preliminary report finding officers failed to adhere to their active shooter training and failed to prioritize saving the lives of innocent victims over their own safety, adding it's plausible that some victims could have survived if they had not had to wait 73 additional minutes for rescue. The report also criticizing the school in hopes of getting other schools up to date.
Robb Elementary was not adequately prepared for the risk of a school shooter.
Some families of victims were there to receive the report, including Uzziah Garcia's father.
Whatever I see in this report's not going to bring my son back, but we need to prevent it so somebody else won't lose their son, or their daughter, their kids.
A possible motive is also revealed in the report. The shooter was a former student of Robb Elementary and attended 4th grade inside room 111 where the shooting happened. His former teacher testifying he was bullied that year. M. Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
Air Tracker 7 over a fire in Arvada, 55th Avenue and Larimer. The address of the fire comes back to a business, but there are homes nearby. We've seen people out with garden hoses trying to keep nearby buildings cool. Well, a Good Samaritan is being called a hero for ending a deadly mass shooting at a mall near Indianapolis. 3 people were killed before police say the 22-year-old took out the gunman. 2 other victims, including a 12-year-old girl, are hospitalized but will survive. You can see people carefully walking through the mall in the aftermath. Store employees helped get customers to safety.
I was really scared. I wanted to close the gate, but people kept running at me, and I just kept letting people in and waiting.
Investigators say the suspect had a rifle and several magazines of ammunition. That suspect hasn't been identified, and police have not revealed the motive. A 6-year-old girl had to cry for help inside of a car after her mother passed out from taking fentanyl. Wheat Ridge police say a mail carrier heard the girl and called officers. Officers say the two were inside of a stolen car parked in a motel parking lot. The woman was taken into custody and the girl was picked up by a family member. Some Amazon packages might not have made it to doorsteps this weekend after someone hijacked a delivery van in Lakewood. This was in a neighborhood at Depew Street and 18th Avenue. Police say a 43-year-old man threatened to shoot the Amazon delivery driver and drove off with the driver still inside. The suspect crashed the van into 3 other cars on West 26th and ran off. Police caught up with him and arrested him shortly thereafter.
Denver's competitive housing market is not letting up, and it might be worse here than in most states. How our state's vacancy rate compares to the rest of the country.
Plus, this lobster is getting a new home, and no, it's not on your plate. He's getting special treatment all because of its color. How rare this little guy is, coming up.